unconscious limiting beliefs that could be sabotaging you, catch the mood and wear the feeling. So very amazing, but unusual circumstances on the brink of poverty to having her desires fulfilled. We're going to be talking about manifestation that might sound too good to be true. It might be sitting in your subconscious as a limiting belief. Welcome to the Inner Work Mastery channel with me, Fazila Bijo, about manifestation that might sound too good to be true. And if you've ever heard this expression, do you use it in your language? Maybe you've heard this saying, it's too good to be true. Well, if you've heard it and you don't change the meaning of it for yourself, then it might be sitting in your subconscious as a limiting belief. Why you should become aware of these unconscious beliefs that many people may be taking for granted when they speak about their own experiences or when they speak about what's in their reality. Before we go ahead, I want to say thank you so much for all of my subscribers. The channel has grown in the past week and a half. I'm truly grateful for this. I achieved 30,000 views on this channel just a week and a half ago, which is a tremendous achievement. I started the channel in August last year, and I also hit 50 videos in this past week. I'm really, really grateful that I can and I get to do this, where I create these videos so that it will help you to better understand teachings of great mystics like Neville Goddard, Joseph Murphy, Florence Scovel Shinn, and many more. Even though I'm concentrating on Neville's work, I bring in the teachings from other mystics so that it will add to your understanding and you will have more of a wider knowledge of what we're talking about. I like being able to bring in different perspectives as well. Have you ever fallen into the trap of agreeing with what is socially accepted? Some of the common terms that we may be using, something like, it sounds too good to be true. You have heard this phrase before. What this generally means is that if it sounds too good to be true, it generally is. That is what most people are actually familiar with and what they accept. Now, I want you to examine if you've ever agreed to that, in speaking to someone, if you had to have an experience and something that didn't last for too long, something that was a good thing, and then you'll hear a friend, or you may even think, oh, well, that was too good to be true. It was too good to last. So this week, I'm going to be looking at chapter 7 of The Law and the Promise. The chapter is called Moods. We're going to be looking at a case study of some very, very amazing but unusual circumstances for the person in question, who goes from almost on the brink of poverty to having her desires fulfilled. Follow this video through to the end so that you can understand what some of the unconscious limiting beliefs are that you may be holding on to and you may not even be aware of. Initially, it does take conscious attention, but it takes a subtle change in terms of the meaning and the language that we use so that you don't have to be limited by this unconscious belief. Neville says, catch the mood and wear the feeling. It's like wearing a suit for the first time. Initially, you're going to find that you're aware that that suit is new. That's the mood. After wearing the suit a couple of times, you grow accustomed to it being your suit, to it molding to your body. So with any piece of clothing, initially you're aware that it's new and then you become used to it. So the mood is the newness. Let's say that you want to manifest a new job. And initially the idea of the new job is the mood. But then slowly but surely, as you practice sets and you visualize and you imagine with feeling, that feeling is your faith. And that faith is what you now wear as you would a new suit. And then it becomes something that's you're familiar with. And as you're familiar with it, it becomes something that is a given for you. So that's what we're wanting to do with any of your manifestation. This is an age in which the mood decides the fortune of people rather than the fortunes deciding the mood. And this is an age-old thing. He's talking about the fact that Our fortune is dictated by how we feel. And most people would love to actually have the fortune first and then have that determine how great they'll feel. And it doesn't work that way. Neville says that we say that we are happy because we have achieved our goal. But we do not realize that this process works equally well in the reverse direction, which is when we achieve our goal, it is because we have assumed a happy feeling of the wish fulfilled. We occupy the different states of our consciousness. And by occupying the state of consciousness of that which you wish to be already, you will have your desire fulfilled. So don't just wait to become happy because you've achieved your goal. Flip it. Achieve your goal because you were happy. So realize the process works in both ways. Moods are not only the result of the conditions of our life, they also cause the conditions. This is something Professor Rebo writes in The Psychology of Emotions. An idea, which is only an idea, produces nothing and does nothing. It only acts. That idea only becomes something if it is felt. That's feeling. It only becomes something if it's accompanied by an effective state. When I started out with creating my YouTube channel, I already put myself into the state of a YouTube content creator. But more than that, my intention is to bring through the teachings and to help you understand and explore them deeper so that you can learn for yourself. And so when I started that, I had I became the state of the person who already is successful, creating content that will help others explore, understand, and practice the teachings. And more than that, I also saw myself as becoming the person who is getting better and better every time that I produce a video. So I used the principles of the law and manifestation and reality creation when I started my YouTube channel. I had some fears and I had some doubts, and at each time I actually cleared them, I revised them, I let them go. And it must awaken the tendencies of your motor elements, which means that you must be moved to action. So that idea will produce nothing and it will do nothing if it does not ignite within you. If it's not a strong desire, it's not going to achieve much. You're not going to act on it. So make sure, 100% sure, that what you truly desire is a burning desire. It's something that you will do no matter what comes about. As I mentioned with the YouTube channel, there were times when I thought, oh, maybe I won't post a video this week. But then I also realized if I am not consistent and persistent, I'm not going to build the skill and I won't achieve the level of mastery. And so here I am really, really, really happy that I persisted in my imagination. I persisted in my inner conversation. I revised all that was not in alignment with my desires, and I continue to do that. We start with the first case study from chapter 7 of The Law and the Promise, called Moods. TK writes into Neville and says, most of us read and love fairy stories, but we all know that stories of improbable riches and good fortune are for the delights of the young. But are they? She says to Neville, I want to tell you of something unbelievably wonderful that happened to me through the power of my imagination. And I'm not in my young years. We live in an age which believes in neither fable nor magic, and yet everything I could possibly want in my wildest daydreams was given to me by the simple use of what you teach. That imagining creates reality, and that feeling is the secret of imagining. Now, feeling is not emotion. If you haven't watched earlier videos from Feeling is the Secret, please go and look those up. I'll also link it up here. Feeling is your acceptance that your desire is truly fulfilled. And when your desire is fulfilled, you have the feeling of the person who now has the desire. In what I was talking about, I had to already feel and be the YouTube content creator. I had to already, in my imagination, be the teacher creates the videos, creates the contents, and puts these teachings together in a way that is going to make an impact, and that I will have my subscribers really benefit from these videos. So you must remember that feeling is an acceptance. It is faith in the unseen. It is faith that what you desire is no longer just a wish, but it is already fulfilled. She said, at the time this wonderful thing happened to me, I was out of a job and had no family to fall back upon for support. I needed just about everything. To find a decent job, I needed a car to look for it. And although I had a car, it was so worn out, it was ready to fall apart. I was behind on my rent. I had no proper clothes to seek a job. And today it's no fun for a woman of 55 to apply for a job of any kind. So note the limiting belief here. My bank account was almost depleted and there was no friend to whom I could turn. So there are a couple of things that are going on here, and I want to just highlight them. She decided that she had to find a job, but the problem was that she didn't have a decent car in order to go looking for a job. She said she was behind on her rent. She didn't have proper clothes to go look for a job. And she also decided that a woman of 55 would find it difficult to find a job of any kind. And she also said her bank account was depleted and she had no friends to whom that she could turn to. Now, all of these are the doubts which I spoke about in the previous video, and I said that doubts are Satan. So if you haven't watched that video, I'm going to recommend that you go and watch that so you can understand what that means. She further says, but I had been attending your lectures for almost a year, and my desperation forced me to put my imagination to the test. She says, indeed, I had nothing to lose. It was natural to me, I suppose, to begin by imagining myself having everything I needed. I needed so many things, and in such short order, which means it has to be immediately prepared and served, that I found myself exhausted when I finally got through the list. And by that time, I was so nervous, I could not sleep. So she's talking about seeing the list of her wishes and her desires before she goes to sleep so that she can go into SATs. So she had been attending Neville's lectures for almost a year, but there's that D word, which is desperation. Out of desperation, she decided to put the law to the test and to practice what Neville had been speaking about. But she also had something that was weighing heavily on her, is that she needed it immediately. And that can be an overwhelming place to be. I speak to people on a continual basis, and I also have people ask me questions around how can I manifest when I'm feeling desperate? The thing is, desperation is a state that you're occupying. It is not something that is happening to you. In fact, you are deciding to stay in desperation. And how do you deal with desperation? You revise. Revise the scene. I have many other videos that will help you on how you revise any experience or you revise any scene. One lecture night, I heard you tell of an artist who captured the feeling or word, as you called it, of isn't it wonderful in his personal experience. I began to apply this idea to my case. Instead of thinking and imagining every article I needed, I tried to capture the feeling that something wonderful was happening to me, not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. So there we have the conviction that something wonderful is already in my reality. Don't push it out for a later time. I would say over and over to myself as I fell asleep, wonderful, something marvelous is happening to me now. And as I fell asleep, I would feel the way I would expect to feel under such circumstances, which means that you don't just say the words for the sake of it. Robotic affirmation, if it works for you, fantastic. But you must bring in the feeling of how wonderful it would be, how wonderful it already is that you have all that you desire. So you can take the feeling of having everything that you desire and make it that feeling of, isn't it wonderful I have all of this together? So further to that, she says, I repeated that imaginary action and feeling for 2 months, night after night. So you have to persist. Initially, the old consciousness, the old programming is still sitting there, and it may take you a period of time. For most people, it does, to overwrite the old programs, the old limiting beliefs, etc. And so she said she did this for 2 months, in which she practiced her imaginal scene and she practiced the feeling of living in the end. You cannot allow doubt, desperation, or anything else come in. You are to persist. The frequency with which you drop into the imaginal scene is more important than how long your scene is. In fact, your scene should be short. It should imply that you already have what you desire, and it should feel natural. Natural means you have accepted it already. Remember, I spoke about the person wearing a new suit. After wearing it for 2 or 3 times, it feels natural for them. It's worn in. And that's what you've got to feel in terms of your desire. Your desire, you caught the mood initially and you practice your imaginary action in SATS, the state akin to sleep. There's a video on that as well if you need to practice that. And you are to wear the feeling. Feeling being, I accept it is done. So she continues that one day in early October, I met a casual friend I hadn't seen for months, who informed me he was about to leave on a trip to New York. I had lived in New York many years ago, and we talked of the city a few moments and then parted. I completely forgot the incident. Still speaking to Neville, she says 1 month later, to the day, this man, the guy that she ran into and they spoke about New York, called at her apartment and simply handed her a certified check in her name for $2,500. And she says, after I got over the initial shock of seeing my name on a check for so much money, the story that unfolded seemed to me like a dream. It concerned a friend I had not seen from in more than 25 years. This friend of my past, I now learned, had become extremely wealthy in those 25 years. Our mutual acquaintance who brought the check to me had met him quite by accident during the trip to New York last month. During their conversation, they spoke of me, and for reasons I was not to know, for to this day I have not heard from him personally, and I have never attempted to contact him. This old friend decided to share a portion of his great wealth with me. For the next 2 years, from the office of his attorney, I received monthly checks so generous in amount, they not only covered every necessary requirement of daily living, but left much over for all the lovely things of life: a car, clothes, a spacious apartment, and best of all, no need to earn my daily bread. This month, I received a letter and some legal papers to be signed, which provide the continuation of this monthly income for the rest of my natural life. Many people would hear this and say, wow, that sounds too good to be true, right? Well, I want you to flip that, because if you want to experience the level of manifestation, the level of what seems to be so good for yourself, I suggest you actually change that, you change any of those limiting and sabotaging beliefs. So have you heard it's too good to be true? Well, nothing is too good to be true. Reframe and change. It's too good to be true. Next part is nothing is too wonderful to happen. Memorize it, believe it, feel it. Nothing is too good to last. How often have you heard, oh, well, that was too good to last? Nothing is too good to last. When you can reframe that, wow, it's too good to be true, it sounded too wonderful to happen. It sounds so wonderful. How can it be, etc. So if you have been unconsciously thinking certain things sound too good to be true, nothing wonderful happens to me, or this was too good to last, please, please, please change your inner conversation, change your thinking, and also change your conversations that you have with people. I do this in my conversations because I say nothing is too good to be true. Nothing is too wonderful to happen for me, and nothing is too good to last because I demand it. I accept and I feel it. I feel that only good comes to me. I only have the best. I only have that which is wonderful. And more often than not, that which is wonderful happens. That which is good, that whatever happens that I would love to have as good in my world is what comes about. So let me know, what did you learn in this week's video? What are you going to be putting into action? Was there anything that you got out of today that you actually weren't aware of before? I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to emphasize again, do not accept and consent limiting beliefs which are going to sabotage you in terms of what you create in your life. There are many practices, there are many techniques. However, if your subconscious mind is holding on to programming that says, things don't last for me, it's too wonderful to happen to me, it sounds too good to be true, you are going to sabotage yourself. Remember, it starts with the mood, like you wear a new coat or a new suit. You catch the mood and then you wear the feeling, and that's what you got to practice at. We never know what needs to be arranged along the path. It's called the bridge of incidents. You may not know what has to come about in terms of having your wish fulfilled, but I dare you to test the law and make it true for yourself. Thank you so much for being part of this channel. Please like, please share, please subscribe, please comment. I would love to keep this channel growing and producing more of these videos so that you become a master in terms of creating your reality. I'll see you in the next video.